Hello, this is Roy from the YouTube channel Reflections of You. I'm here speaking with a colleague of mine, Andrea of the Mind Medic. We're here to talk to her about how she got her start and how she got into a place to where she is now. I often wonder how people get started in their practices and how they end up where they are. So Andrea's going to talk to us a little bit more about that. Hello, Andrea, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, thank you for having me. And Roy, I must say that I am like you. I like to know how everyone got started. And actually, this is kind of a funny story. I was in a bicycle accident, and I found myself having to come less. And typically, I'm a very high energy, never really sit still for all that long, a very physical person, very active. And so I was on a bike trip one day. I found myself in a bicycle accident, which would lay me up a little. Nothing serious, thank God, but nonetheless, I did have to have some downtime. And in that downtime, you've heard it said, be still and God will find you. And some people say, be still, know that I am God, and then he appears. Well, it's what happened. And I was sitting in my living room one day. God just kind of took me. I was totally awake and I was down in the living room, and he took me through a tunnel. I just was sitting there, and there was things from the left to the right coming through this tunnel. And what they were was flashes of my life, different points along the way from when I was a child all the way up until, at that time, and which was only a couple years ago here. And it was really kind of like, at first I wasn't sure what it meant until a week would go, or a week and a half later. And then some of these specific things, the Lord was showing me that I had really been instrumental in some of these people's lives that I didn't even know. So I called a couple of these people and asked them if they could tell me, do you remember the specific time that the Lord showed me? And they're like, yeah, oh my God, that changed my life forever. Had you not said that or been there or done that or whatever, oh my God, it changed and I was like, wow. So he showed me that he had given me a gift that I wasn't even aware. And I think when you do things that are just natural, um, from your inherent self, that's how you just go about your life. You do what you think everybody, is doing, and has the ability to do. But it's not so, and that's when you find that you have a special gift.
Right, I
And
know.
so that's how I came about it.
Okay, I know that downtime had to be a struggle. I know you're a little ball of energy. That's just from knowing you. You're all over the place and bouncing. So that downtime probably gave you that time to realize what your gifts are and where your light shines. That's what I would assume out of knowing you and going through training with you. Um, I know you've touched a lot of people. What would you say is your secret sauce that kind of draw people to you?
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to say too, that when we were in studies together, when we got together to do some of these sessions and practice these techniques, you had mentioned that and said that, there was something about my energy or aura. And all I can say is that I believe if I had to say there was a secret sauce to it, is that my energy has always been just positive and light. So I am the one who sees the glass as half full. I'm the one who sees a solution instead of a problem. I'm the one who just believes that there's a way no matter what we are faced with. So, and I guess it's because I know that it's not all up to us. I just really lean on our creator, and he's the all knowing, all seeing. So I
Right.
think that's why I've been able to have maybe a little easier time than others in life, and because I don't take it all on my own shoulders. I literally take it literal when he says, cast your cares upon me, that his burdens are few, his yoke is strong. So I
Right.
literally just I believe it, and I go forward, and I just kind of have like that
It's,
blind faith maybe. And
it's kind of
so
like that Bob Marley song, "Every little thing's going to be all right."
there you have it. And you know what? It's one of my mottos. Really, it's like, yeah, don't worry, be happy. every little thing is going to be all right. And I think when we take ourselves out of it, Roy, sometimes we feel that we are responsible for everything in our life, in terms of how everything's going to happen. See, he's the supernatural how to part of it. What he wants from us is to get clear, to be, you know, focused on what it is that we want. And when we express the desires of our heart, he comes and shows up. I believe, he's the unseen healer, and with his host of angels and everything, and shows up and makes things happen that in the natural, in our flesh, may not seem like they're able to happen. But I really believe that if we take ourselves out and let him do the work, he's the how to part of this whole thing. And that's how we can realize miracles if we just allow it.
Right. So many of us gotta force our way through life instead of letting that energy be the guide, instead of just kind of sitting back saying, this is what I want. And then we're trying to pave the way from start to finish, and it doesn't always go the way we plan. So sometimes
That's right.
to sit back and ride the wave, you have to be intentional, and you have to be um, at the cause of your life, not at the effect of it. But that doesn't mean you're stuck to one way. So you have to be able to allow that way to present itself to you. And that's
Ex-
one of the things that
y-
we really focused on going through our practitioner training.
yes, exactly, exactly. Because you see, you take the power away from yourself if you give the power to other people and say, well, because of this person or because of this situation, that is why I am the way I am. And using that as a crutch. Yeah. And so, exactly, because it's almost like you're tying your hands behind your back saying, oh, so wait a minute, then that means if I wasn't the one that caused it, then I can't change it. Whereas everything starts in the mind, the way that we think of things, our perspective on it, how we choose to see it, and the different filters that we use. So we know, people that are coming from an unhealthy filter are not able to see things for what they really are. It's a skewed vision, and it's not really the truth of what's happening, but it's what they've told themselves, the story, and they've come to believe it, and their pain, in that filter that's not clear and healthy. Yes.
Now, on your way to becoming an NLP practitioner, a neurolinguistic practitioner, did you do anything before this? What kind of therapy or similar things have you done before this?
Well, it's funny because I my heart is wanting, I mean, I am totally, that's what makes me tick. I love to help people to be happier, healthier. I want everyone to win, in this thing called life. And so what I was doing, it was only as a ministry, but I was under the direction of a Christian psychologist, and he was a doctorate and had done some ministry out in the secular world, I guess. And so I went along with him. So I was under his direction and had a wonderful time, out there. And it just, the feeling when you know that you helped somebody get from down in the muck and the mire, out of it and into a good place, it's just so rewarding. I mean, no money in the world could ever replace that. And I really, really thought, after what happened with the bike accident, um, I thought, well, but who's going to listen to me? Like, I only did it as a ministry and I have no actual doctorate degree. So that's when I started looking, for alternatives. And I said, God, you gave me this gift and I know there's a way. So show me, what am I to do? And it was, typically I sleep like a log, and anybody that knows me, will tell you that. And I've slept through a fire alarm, if you can believe it or not. I actually fell out of a bed one time and didn't know it until I woke up and I was on the floor.
That's
So
really
I sleep
powerful
soundly. Yeah, yeah. So, but this, I was up and I couldn't sleep. I got on the internet and something kept telling me to type in alternative therapy. So I did. And all of a sudden, this popped up. And it was the school that where you and I would come to meet, popped up. And I thought, wow. So as I read about it and saw, and I said, well, gee, wait a minute, this makes so much sense. You're telling me that there's healing that can be done subconsciously without sitting there talking about your problems over and over, which, to me didn't make sense to begin with, because it's just like opening up a wound, and continuing to pour salt in it, right? And not allowing it to scab over and heal. So this really, really spoke to me. And then I went to sign up, and well, here we are. The rest is history, as they say. So I'm on the ground floor of getting this thing up and going here in the Myrtle Beach area, though I do a lot of remote. In fact, much of it I believe is going to be remote.
And that's exactly what happens when you allow God or allow the universe or whatever you believe to pave the way for you. When you have a direction and you're not set and rigid in one way of getting there, the universe or God opens that door for you to guide your next step. Now, with that being
Yeah.
said, there's a lot of people, this is probably more acceptable on the West Coast, but on the East Coast where you're located, I'm sure you've come across some struggles or some challenges in getting people to understand where you're coming from, what this passion is and how this works. How have you managed been accepted in this NLP space when it comes to meeting your potential clients?
Well, and that's a very good question. And Roy, I have to tell you, it really was perplexing to me that it's not well known on the East Coast, and myself included, uh, with the fact that this has been around since the 1970s, and with Richard Bandler and John Grinder. So the pioneers in the group. And believe it or not, I met a lady after I came into this, before I started my studies. And she told me an interesting story that she had been on the West Coast before moving here. And she sat, can you imagine, and actually broke bread with John Grinder. And wow, what a story she had. So I said, well, it's too bad, but something somewhere along the line, I don't know. I mean, it was more known on the Western coast, and then somehow it lost some of its effectiveness. And the only thing I can say that may have caused that is because Western medicine, and with the pharmaceuticals, and everyone was gearing so much toward medicine, just medicating someone and going toward that Western medical side. And I think that's what may have happened, and it started to die down. But I believe a resurgence is coming up. But yes, I had encountered some people who said things like, oh, that sounds like woo woo voodoo or new age and a bunch of hogwash, and oh, that's ridiculous, uh, and I've been accused of being a fairy tale person and Pollyanna. And I'm here to tell them, if they could open themselves up, and I have some articles and some things that I've been sharing with people to educate them as to the science of this, because it's really neurobiological and biochemical. So these things have been tried and true, proven, and the proof is in the pudding. When you see the people that come back from these traumatic experiences, whether it's through childhood, whether it's through an accident that they may have come through, some anxiety that they have experienced, whatever it is, and then they're just like that, they're over it, and people are like, "Ugh." But that is how easy it is when we get down to our origin, because the Lord is able, there's nothing that he is unable to take from us. So I like to believe that, we as NLP practitioners, at least those who are in our same school of thought, putting all the credit, to our creator. And we are acting as a conduit, just allowing the Lord to work through us, and our energy, that positive, pure love, and pure essence of knowing too that we are all one consciousness. And I think you had some recording, I couldn't remember the name, but that you spoke on that, and you may be, I think if I'm not mistaken, going to be posting that on your site. But that is so true, that we are all one, and I want people to understand that. So the power is in expressing that love and understanding that we all are from the same origin, and we have a birthright to be joyful, to be peaceful, to be full of love, happiness. That's our birthright.
Right. And That's also true. And it's also motivating and inspiring. Um, by the way, that piece you're talking about is called Cosmic Illumination. You can find that on my YouTube channel at Reflections of You. It's Cosmic Illumination is the topic, and I'll talk go a little bit more into detail about that. But one thing this all leads to, and one thing that this kind of brings me to, if I'm not mistaken, you had a very inspiring story about a guy that you met that passed away and came to life, and it was a little different than the normal story that you hear. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, that's another amazing thing. And when we say, listen, that everything is lined up and that God has everything perfectly placed at the right time, He has the people, places, and things just when they need to come into our lives. And as I was on this journey, going to school, I found myself just going down for the day. I was actually looking for an artist to do my logo, and
Okay.
I went down to a local flea market. So that's where I would meet the man that would change my life forever. So I want to say that it was planned that way. The Lord planned it because that was the missing element that I needed to be able to tie into this whole thing with the neuro linguistic programming. He shared some things that at first I did think that he was a little bit, I thought, Lord, has he just escaped from the psych ward at first? And then when I listened, and first of all, the look in his eyes, Roy, I mean, the sincerity and the purity, I just, I found myself getting lost once I actually allowed myself to engage and connect. And he shared some things that I know, number one, set, you know how you just know it sets right within your spirit once I opened up
Right.
and allowed myself to listen. And the things that he said, it was almost like an unconscious competence that all of us at our essence know that it's true. And so anyone who is there, and I know not everyone is there, and they're not ready to hear that, and they're unable to accept, this. And I get that. But he brought some things to life. So that opened up a world to me that made me understand things like I never understood before. So scripture, when I went back to read certain scripture, I would be like, wow, it's almost jumping off the page because I was taking everything as being literal rather than metaphoric. And when he described and educated me on things, one of my segments that you can find on my myndmedic channel, and again, that's myndmedic and it's spelled MYND. You can find one of my little clips is called Hide and Seek because he basically told me in a roundabout way that this life is all about playing a big game of hide and seek. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, he said, things will be hidden from you until you believe. It's all in our imagination. Our power is in the imagination. God is there because why? It's limitless. And who do we serve? A limitless God. And so if we can believe it, if we can dream it, if we can imagine it, then it can become. And you know something? That along with my training, I think, I mean, the secret sauce with my heart, I mean, I want everyone to heal. So I just think, I'm just ready to heal the world, one person at a time.
Andrea, you said it best earlier. When you have that open mind, you become a conduit for this information, and it just, like you said, it jumps off the page at you, and you start getting an understanding of it. Even if you can't put it into words and articulate it, your inner self knows what's going on, and it starts to you start to understand, and you start to go with it. Um,
Yes.
I think you're such a guiding light, and especially to many of your followers, that once they start listening to your content and start listening to what you have to say, everything's just going to start falling into place. Now, I know you say you can find your information and your content on myndmedic on YouTube, and it's spelled MYND, medic, MEDIC. You can also find some of this content on my channel, Reflections of You, also on YouTube. I want to thank you for your time. And what do you have any final last words for your followers, and what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, well, I would say this. I want everyone to know, I want you to stay encouraged. I want you to know that there is a way out of your emotional pain. And it's the most natural, uh, easy, effortless way if you allow yourself to have the creator, come in through the Holy Spirit and get you where you need to be. It's really as effortless as breathing and your heart beating, which we don't even think of. So that subconscious part of us is where our magic is. And I would say, just be encouraged and know that this is available. Also, you can protect your privacy because, we don't have to know the details and hear all of the ugly things that had happened to you to cause you, to be in that maybe lower vibration that you're finding yourself. And I want you to know, there's healing and it's only a phone call away. So you can call me, at 843-251-7312, or I have a website where you can see some of the different techniques that I use, and or go ahead and uh, go on to the YouTube channel and check it out there. So I'm able to be reached in different ways, and yeah, I'm ready to help. So
All right.
pick up the phone or yep, get in touch.
Well, thank you, Andrea, for speaking with us today. I hope you all have a great day. And until next time, check out our content at Reflections of You and also at Mind Medic on YouTube. Thank you.